right, Mix 104.1 and MixTV.tv. We are joined by our friends from Alon Planning Partners. We have Jay and Brittany Hagee in the studio once again, and we're going to play a game today.
Oh,
games are fun.
Let's go. I love it.
So this is Fact or Fiction, Financial Edition. Okay. So here is the first fact or fiction.
Okay.
I can control when and how I pay taxes on the money within my retirement accounts.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That could be either way sometimes, but I'm going to say fact is because we can control through tax planning, and this is what we help our clients with a lot. We help with tax planning, not just tax paying, right? There's a difference, because if you just go to your CPA or the tax preparer that you use every April and say, how much do I owe in taxes? That's tax paying, and then it's kind of hard to do some things about it at that point. But if you prepare ahead, maybe 1, 3, 5, 10 years ahead, as far as how do I position myself better within my accounts, maybe utilizing things like Roth accounts, or it's not for everybody, but Roth conversions and things like this from your qualified accounts, you can actually dictate how much taxes you pay and when, depending on the income that you have. So we can absolutely affect that. So that is a fact that you can control that.
Yeah, and it's a misconception that you can't. You just think, well, the government controls the tax law and they just dictate what I pay. Well, that is true. That they do dictate that. We can't control the law, right? Yeah. We can't control the law, the percentages, the tax bracket, all of those things. But we can have a say in the timing as to when we pay taxes on our dollars. So this is where the strategy really comes in, when we're looking at paying taxes on our dollars before we invest them versus having tax deferred dollars where we pay taxes when we take the money out later. And our target is to help folks have both. So that they have some benefit of tax deferral now that helps you now, maybe not later, but you have some benefit now. But then you also have other buckets for future, for retirement, that you can withdraw from that are tax-free. So you, again, through different strategies, you can create a way to determine and dictate, this is when I want to pay taxes. I want to pay taxes at a known rate now versus at an unknown rate later, right? As tax law changes. So there's a lot of caveats within it. One, I have to highlight that what you asked, the statement you mentioned is true, except for when you reach the age for what we call RMDs,
minimum distributions.
Required minimum distributions. That's the point at which the government tells you, hey, at this age, you have to take distributions from your qualified accounts, which are 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, those types of things, where you have to take those dollars out at that point. So when you get to that point, you really have no more say.
So let's put a plan in place before you get there. So before you hit 73, and maybe you are 73, and we can still help you do some planning around how many dollars you have to take for your required minimum distribution. But if you have a 401k, an IRA, any tax-deferred plan, let's plan ahead and do some tax planning and determine when we should be taking those dollars before the government tells you how much you have to take, right? So let's do some tax planning. So yes.
Do you have another fact or fiction
I
for
sure
us?
do. Here's the next one. Fact or fiction, the type of account I have makes it safe or risky.
Ooh, type of account you have. Okay, that's fiction.
Big misconception.
Let me give you a word picture to illustrate why this is fiction. Think about the type of account you have as a pill, like the casing of a pill you might take, some kind of medicine. The casing just holds the contents. It's the same with our with our accounts. The casing, the type of account, whether it's an IRA, a 401k, a Roth account, that doesn't tell you what's in it. That just tells you the type of tax status the account has, right? So that's kind of just the casing that holds the contents. You can put whatever you want inside the casing, inside those accounts. And you have many more options for investing with IRAs.
And I kind of look at it like a trip that you go on, right? Because you can choose any vehicle that you want to get there. If we're driving to Miami, or we're flying to Miami, or we're taking a train to Miami from here, right? Any of it. Maybe it's somewhere else, but you have the option of the vehicle that you choose. It doesn't make it more or less risky. There are pros and cons to both. What is inside is of those accounts is
determines your risk.
Determines risk factor, right? And a lot of people hear things like, oh, I hear if I have a Roth, that's what I'm supposed to have. It must mean it's more
It's
safe.
safer. It's less market risk or
less risky.
risk. Well,
but that's not
necessarily
true. It's what you have within that makes it. It's just the wrapper. So that is a big misconception that people see sometimes is the type of account I have means that I'm taking little risk or a lot of risk. Well, not necessarily. We have to determine what's inside that account is what makes it the risk tolerance matter.
Exactly.
Okay, you have time for one more?
Okay, let's do one more.
Or if you're just tuning in, we're playing a game here with Jay and Brittany Hagee, Alon Planning Partners, Fact or Fiction Financial Edition. So last one here, fact or fiction, being married gives me the legal authority to access my spouse's retirement accounts.
Ooh. What would you think on that one?
I would say that that's fact.
Yeah, most people would. Most people would think that was fact because we're married. I have the legal right to get into any account that I want to of Brittany's, right? But I can't. That is actually fiction. If she has a 401k or an IRA, it is totally in her name. If now I'm the beneficiary, usually your spouse is the beneficiary, but you are still living. If you were in a coma, let's just say,
God forbid, something happened. Yeah.
I had to get into Brittany's accounts because I've got to help take care of her medical expenses. If I do not have a power of attorney document, I do not have the legal right to get into her accounts. That is why estate planning is so important. We have to make sure that we have the right documents in place to protect you, whether you are living or deceased, that your accounts go to the right spot. So most people think, well, I have the right to get into my husband's or wife's accounts, no problem. But you really do not. You cannot legally get into and produce anything out of those accounts without their permission. And so that's why estate planning is so important.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in one of these accounts, but you can't access it.
Right.
That does you no good. That's why we talk so much about this comprehensive approach, how all these different components of financial planning really work together. And if you're missing just one or two of these pieces,
Right.
it really can throw the whole of your financial situation off. Case in point right here. So let's just review those 5 components really briefly. Investment management, how you're positioned with your funds and how you're investing. Tax planning, income planning, healthcare, and estate planning. All 5 of those, you have to have each one of those in order not to have any gaps or missing links. You want to be able to always access the funds that you've worked to save, right? So instead of just saying, well, I hope that doesn't happen, no, let's put a plan in place for God forbid that does happen. I'm prepared and I'm not sent into this financial tizzy on top of the emotional and mental strain I'm experiencing because my spouse is injured or incapacitated or something. So again, helping folks to look ahead, plan ahead as much as possible, but still build some flexibility in there, because one thing we can count on is our plan not going according to plan. Which is why we build in these caveats. We build in this flexibility. But one non-negotiable is having all 5 of those components.
And we love games, so this is fun. Like we have game nights at our house, and our kids love to play games. But the deal is, if you find yourself listening and you are Googling fact or fiction about certain financial decisions that you're making, don't do it alone. Don't try to because we know everything on the internet's true, right? Like, so don't just Google fact or fiction. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Reach out to us. That's why we're here. We would love to speak with you on any of the questions that you have that you don't have to fact or fiction Google on your own, because you're going to get 4,000 different answers, and they're probably leaning in both directions, right? And so reach out to us, 423-315-1441, or at alonplanning.com, and we would love to sit with you, give you a complimentary consultation so that we can answer your fact or fiction questions and see if we can't get you on the right track for your financial future. Go ahead and look up at our website. We have resources there. We have live events. We're always teaching workshops in the area. You can come see us live. You can check out our TV show, our podcast. Any questions that you have, we would love to answer. Again, 423-315-1441.
Our friends Jay and Brittany Hagee, Alon Planning Partners. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you.
Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.